The apparent main suspect in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann has been released from prison and is now free to roam the streets of Germany. And the question that many of us are asking right now is, how is it over 5 years after German authorities dropped the bombshell to worldwide media that they had concrete evidence that Christian B not only abducted but killed young Madeleine, that this man is out of prison without a single charge against him? And now, 5 years on, and very conveniently, in my opinion, a new female suspect has emerged. However, just how credible is this suspect? What evidence do they have against her? And are we finally about to solve the disappearance of Madeleine McCann?
For us, it was as good a holiday as we have had with the children up until that point.
In this episode, we are going to use evidence that we have that is publicly available. And so what I will always say in that case is that there are things that might be incorrect and things where we might not get the full picture. And hopefully, in the benefit of time, the police will be able to reveal all of this evidence and we'll actually get a full story of this case. All of the claims that we discuss in this case are alleged claims. And remember, we're only using, as I say, the evidence that we have access to. Ultimately, this is a tragic and very upsetting case. And I know that all of you, like us, just want it solved.
Now, those of you that have watched our previous 2 podcasts on this subject will have an idea of my beliefs, maybe, on this case. However, one thing I want to make very clear is I'm going to go into this one with an open mind. And what we're going to do is we're going to review the most relevant clips from the recent Sky News piece where they have run an alternate theory on what they believe could now have happened to Madeleine McCann. After which we will get into the evidence that police have against the prime suspect in the case, Christian Brueckner, and hopefully be able to give you guys enough information so that you can form your own opinions. But first, before we do that, let's get into the new female suspect.
I'm here in Portugal, where I've been investigating a very different theory involving a female suspect, a theory police were pursuing just before they began to focus on Christian B.
Now, my instinctive reaction to this first clip, with the benefit of hindsight, is if there was that much weight to this specific theory that they've got, why would they have dropped it straight away when Christian Brueckner came onto the radar?
This is super weird, isn't it? Because I feel like I had a look back on Sky News and I had a look at how many clips they've made. They've made dozens of videos about Christian Brueckner being the prime suspect in this Maddie trial. And we keep hearing the word, and it's very important to highlight this word, prime. So they've said over and over again, not only were there not really any other suspects they were looking at, but this guy's the one that was this was the one they were pinning everything on. And to have this come out now and go, oh, we weren't looking at any other leads because we were looking at Christian Brueckner. But now Christian Brueckner's freed and they haven't actually got any evidence that links him to this. Now we've got suddenly someone that could be part of the story.
Convenient, in my opinion.
It is very inconvenient.
I'll tell you the other thing is 2020 we found out about Christian B. I don't know why there's a thing of calling him Christian B, calling him Christian. Everyone knows his name's Christian Brueckner, so I'm calling him Christian Brueckner.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. But, right, me and you both know something, Josh, don't we?
Yep.
It wasn't 2020 when Christian Brueckner came across the police radar.
It wasn't. It was way earlier than that. Tell me the date.
I don't know the exact date, but he was mentioned in a certain book, wasn't he?
He was mentioned, in the Portuguese investigator's book. Is that the one you're talking about?
They said there was a German suspect that was going to come.
So this is the context.
Or it may have not been the book exactly, but he did an interview or something.
No, it wasn't in the book. But basically, he had done an interview previously. And this was quite an important thing that we've covered in our other videos as well. But what we had said is he knew that the authorities, because he was taken off of the case, the authorities were going to blame someone and pin it on someone because what has kept happening over and over again is that they haven't got a suspect they can pin anything on, and it makes them look incredibly incompetent. And the context for this that we must need to remember, and I'm going to bring it up here now. Operation Grange is the Scotland Yard case that is looking for Madeleine McCann, right? Looking into the disappearance. How much money? Can you remember how much money they spent? And bear in mind, Joey, this is taxpayer money. This isn't privately funded. This isn't through the McCanns Charitable Foundation, which we must say at this point isn't a charitable foundation and is a limited company, but we'll get into that later on, perhaps. Do you know the amount of money that Operation Grange has spent?
I'd love to know the amount.
It's over £20 million. So there's a lot of incompetence to be shown here. And what the Portuguese investigator says was that there would be a German nonce. I'm going to use the word nonce here just to make sure we're okay. A German nonce that is already in custody that they're going to blame this on.
It would be a monumental coincidence if he was talking about anyone but Christian B, wouldn't it?
It would be a huge coincidence. Although you told me in one of our previous episodes that there were a lot of nonces in the area.
Yeah.
At the time.
100%.
And a lot of them would have been in Germany.
As there are in every single area. But listen, as we say, open mind, let's get into the next clip.
The young girl was asleep in a rented apartment at the Ocean Club. She was in a room with her younger twin siblings. Their parents were dining with friends on the complex 60 yards away. When her mother Kate came back to check on the children, as her parents did every 30 minutes or so, she found Madeleine's bed empty.
I'm just going to warn you now, Joey is about to go absolutely crazy on this clip. This was one that actually really annoyed you, wasn't it? Why did it annoy you?
Listen,
Come on.
This is Sky News reporting on this. This is one of the biggest news stations in the UK.
One of the biggest, probably one of the most trusted.
Yeah.
You'd have to say they are, whenever they do a piece, you listen to what they say.
There you go.
24-hour news.
So you would hope that the reporting is non-biased and you would hope that it's factual. Now, the first thing after I saw the comments that were made here is I had to check the comment section, because whenever I spot something in a video where I'm like, okay, you've just told a blatant lie there, I always check the comment section to see if the comment section are agreeing with me and
Joey,
whatever.
They're lying in this video. A news corporation lying in a video, a piece of press that they're producing themselves.
What?
How very dare you?
I personally felt so.
Okay.
But sometimes I like to check the comment section to see whether anyone has the same theory as me.
There must have been a lot of comments in there.
Surprise, surprise, the comments were disabled. The comments are disabled on this video. But let me tell you where the blatant lies come in here. The parents dining 60 yards away has been completely disproven on multiple occasions over nearly the last 20 odd years. 60 yards is as the crow flies. And the last time I checked, neither Jerry or Kate McCann can fly. So what that means is they would have had to have taken the quickest possible route. The quickest possible route has been proven to be 90 to 100 yards. So you're basically doubling more or less what it actually is. And straight away, that makes me feel like this is an untrustworthy source. But not only that, they say exactly, roughly every 30 minutes or so. Once again, completely fabricated. Kate and Jerry McCann left their 3 children in an unlocked apartment in a foreign country at 8:30 p.m. so that they could go and drink alcohol and eat tapas. By his account, roughly 35 minutes later at 9:05, Jerry McCann returns to the apartment to check on the children, where he states that he visibly lays eyes on Madeleine. The next time one of her parents checks on her is at 10 p.m. This is Kate McCann. That's 55 minutes difference, not roughly every 30 minutes or so. To say it was every 30 minutes or so is a blatant lie. And what some of you might do is you might say, well, no, what about the Matthew Oldfield check? No, wrong. If Matthew Oldfield did go and make that check, which has never been proven, by the way, if he did go and make that check, one thing that has been stated from him to the police is that he never laid eyes on any of the children. He opened the door ajar and he felt he could hear movement and he knew the children were in there, so he came back. So to say that the parents checked on the children every 30 minutes straight away is a lie. And you might feel like, oh, that's small margins. Small margins are usually what solve unsolved cases, in my opinion. So every 30 minutes compared to basically once an hour, 60 yards or whatever it is compared to, no, 40 yards they were saying at some point, 60 yards at some point compared to the actual distance, which is more like 90 to 100 yards, is a lie. What that does is breaks the boundary of trust straight away from the viewer to who is reporting this.
So yeah, it's not a good start from Sky News. You really do, if you're going off and not telling the truth, you immediately then start to question the rest of the report. And I think that's what happened with me when I was watching this clip from Sky News, to be fair. But let's go on to the next one.
In 2018, I was told of a new theory being investigated by Portuguese and British police. We didn't run the story at the time as another suspect, Christian B, came under the spotlight. But police had been looking into a theory of a hit-and-run accident involving a German woman who may have been drinking. She allegedly drove off with Madeleine's body. The theory was that Madeleine woke up in the family's holiday apartment, then she wandered out in the dark and a passing car hit her and killed her.
There is a hit and run on a young girl, significant enough so that the person that has done it has had to hide a body, potentially. Like, that's how serious this could have been, right?
The driver, who may have been drunk.
May have been drunk.
No source, no source, by the way. No source material there. No evidence.
I was going to get into
nothing.
this.
Who may have been drunk.
Yeah. So let's talk about evidence for a second then. In a hit and run, you've actually been hit by a car, haven't you?
I've been hit by a car twice.
There you go.
Once properly.
The one thing that you expect when you're hit by a car is damage on a vehicle. There's then forensic evidence on the road. There's markings on the road. There's potentially blood on the road. There's a lot of forensic stuff that comes up very straight away from a significant car injury.
The main thing when I was hit by a car, I was hit off my bike by a car once, and the main thing was there was blood everywhere. Like, it wasn't, by the way, this wasn't anything that endangered my life, anything like that. When I say there was blood everywhere, it all came off the side of my leg. I've got scars on the side of my leg to show you. But yeah, there was blood straight away. So it doesn't matter what impact you're driving at. You would imagine there would be some sort of blood, but let's go with Sky News. They're the reputable source, aren't they? Maybe this woman could have, got out and cleaned up?
The person could have cleaned up. Maybe it was raining that night.
Rains a lot in May in Praia da Luz.
Yeah. So the clear thing was that it hadn't been raining. This person wasn't forensically trained, and
that is proven, by the way. There was no rain on that night.
We knew that we knew there wasn't any rain to start off with, and this person isn't going to be able to just forensically clean up a crime scene and be able to dispose of any evidence as a result of that crime scene in the time that they needed to as a result of this hit and run. So we're starting on dodgy ground here, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. But speaking about ground, Madeleine would have had to been on the ground, for the hit and run to have occurred.
Yep.
So Madeleine McCann was she just shy of her 4th birthday?
She was a little toddler, yeah. So 3
She was 3
3
years
years
old.
when we know.
3 years old.
Yeah.
I believe she was just shy of her fourth birthday. I have a daughter.
I was going to say.
I have a daughter the exact same
What your daughter
age.
does really conscientiously, between every gate and every door, she always very diligently closes it. She's very polite like that.
My daughter doesn't even pick up her own fucking toys after playing with them, right? Now, let me tell you, I don't care whether you're advanced for that age. I don't care whether you're not advanced for that age. This, if that narrative is to be believed, this is what Madeleine would have had to have done. She would have had to have got up from her bed. She would have had to have slid open a closed but not locked patio door. Now, just to give you a bit of context from a father of a daughter who's pretty much the exact same age as Madeleine was when she went missing, a young girl would need an incredible amount of strength, to open a patio door. How do I know this? My parents have patio doors. My daughter's trying to get out of there all the time. It's not locked, but she's not got the strength to slide it open. But that's my parents' house, and maybe these doors were easier, maybe they were lighter, maybe she did slide it open. One thing that is not a behavioural trait or something that a toddler at that age will do is then close a door behind them. That's a sort of conscious, courteous thing maybe, or safety precaution that an adult would make, not a toddler. However, there's more to that. There was then a child gate that she would have had to have opened. The same one you use for animals sometimes, the same one you use for children sometimes. Everyone knows them. You lift it up, you open it up, and you have to lift it to put it back shut, which is how it was. It wasn't left open when Kate McCann returned to the scene. So young Madeleine has not only opened the patio door, she's also then closed the patio door. She's not only unlocked the child gate, she's also then locked the child gate back up. And to make it even worse, everyone knows the old sort of gates that you got on like local estates and stuff like that, and anywhere really, you'd get those small sort of gates. If you have a look at apartment 5A, and we'll get a picture on the screen now, there was one of those gates there that was also closed. So Madeleine would have had to have understood the technology and how you open that gate, which is you lift the handle and put it open, and then she would have had to have closed it behind her. Do they sound like the actions of a 3-year-old to you, Josh?
Absolutely not in a million years. So it's a huge leap at this point. Right, before we get into that, you guys know that in many of the cases that we cover on the Joey and Josh channel, we talk about mental health. And I have to say, depression is not just a thing that we've suffered with, right? I've had moments in my life where I've been really down. I know you've had moments in your life very recently where you've been under the weather.
100%, yeah.
So how do you deal with that then?
To be honest, I don't really, but I'll tell you one thing, funny enough, a lot of the comments we get on this channel are from people that are struggling. They actually say that they find watching the podcast and the content that we make a really good distraction, if not more.
And what I do just want to say, and Joey, I'm sure you want to say this as well, is just a huge thank you to you guys for sticking with us and for all of the comments that you give us. You know, we just want to say that means a huge amount to us.
They're the ones that hit us the most. 100%. They're the comments that really get us there.
Yeah, and we appreciate every single one of you that watches any of our videos. And I have to say, I don't love reliving this point in my life, but what I do remember is that I didn't want to talk to anyone and I didn't open up. And I have to say that made things so much worse. But finally, I did open up and I did talk to a very close friend of mine about how I was feeling. And what I remember is that all of the anxiety, all of the stress, it did slowly start to get better. And if you're not feeling 100% and you want someone to talk to, the paid partner of this video, BetterHelp, might be a good place to start. Their online therapists will listen to you and ask you questions from an unbiased point of view. And they give you advice and techniques so you can make a positive change in your life. So to try this out for yourself, all you have to do is go to our link, which is betterhelp.com/J&J pod. And there's also a link in the description if you want to click that. When you do, you just have to fill out a questionnaire and they will link you up with a therapist as soon as possible. And if you actually use our link in particular, that will give you 10% off the service. So make sure you hit that link and you'll be in good company because there are over 7,000 reviews on Trustpilot with a 4.3 rating. So you know that this is a good service to use. So big thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring this part of the episode. We hope that you are all safe and happy that you can be in very tough times right now. Remember, you are not alone. And if you are going through something, please do just talk to anyone. It really does help. Now, let's get back into the video. And what is interesting with Sky News at this point, I have to say, mate, is that they've actually used some of our footage in some of their reporting. Sky News.
The Jay Slater case.
And what did they call us in that piece?
So in the piece, they were talking specifically while playing overlay from multiple different bits of media, but most significantly, definitely when it comes to the numbers of views, a bit of our footage around the Jay Slater case. A lot of our footage that was recorded before the inquiry that actually came out to be true, by the way. But it was conspiracy theorists and online sleuths. Now, I would say, and I'm not going to jump the gun here, by the way, open-minded, remember, I would say that this is sounding a little bit conspiracy theorist-esque, would you not?
I would say potentially more than conspiracy theories. I would say this is potentially some fabricated story. And I use the word like that because you've got to look at the language of the clip that we just saw, right? So we heard a German woman who is unidentified, potentially for legal reasons, so fair enough, who was out driving. Again, we don't clearly know what car they were in. We haven't been given any timings. We haven't actually even really been given a location, really, of where she's been driving to. And then may have been drinking. So there's a lot of like ifs, there's a lot of maybes, there's a lot of this could have happened. That's not how you build a case. We've only been doing this for 9 months, Joe. We know that that's not how you refer to events that have happened. You've got to do your research.
Not only that, I mean, if we talk like if it's relevant for her who may have been drinking, I could think of 6 or 7 people that we could prove were definitely drinking that night. Not mentioned.
Joey Knight in the previous
episode
said 15 bottles up to a point that you've heard.
It's been reported between 9 and 14 bottles of wine.
That's a lot of wine
to the table.
I mean, even if it's 9, that's a lot of wine.
It's a lot of wine
consumed.
But who are we to judge, eh?
And before we go on to the next clip, because we'll go into that in a second, they say here, we haven't discussed this story because we were talking about another suspect, Christian B. There are so many other true crime cases. There are so many other cases that Sky News cover where they will cover multiple suspects. Why have you not done it in this instance? Why have they not? Why have we never heard this?
There's my response, mate.
But why have we never heard this? In all of our research of this case, bear in mind, we've done 3 episodes now on this. We've never once talked about this hit and run.
You've asked me why have we never heard this, Josh. If I give you the answer, I spoil the episode, don't I?
Fair enough. Should we go on to the next clip then?
Let's just roll the next clip.
Another piece of the puzzle against the female suspect was a conversation overheard her boyfriend, it was thought, asked her, "Why did you bring her here?"
Someone, no name, no detail, just someone believes that they overheard her boyfriend say, "Why did you bring her here?" No mention of Madeleine, by the way. No mention of a child. No mention of anything. Why did you bring her here? Now, let's say, hypothetically, by the way, because this is very much hypothetical, not circumstantial. Would you agree with that?
100%.
100%, right?
100%.
So this mystery person, who they can't even name, thought that they heard this. And if you think that you've heard something, it could be that you heard wrong. It could be that you didn't hear anything. It could be that Sky News have made the whole thing up. I don't know. It could be that. But they could have misheard. It could have been, why did you bring him here? Why did you bring them here? And does that necessarily prove an indication of even, I don't even want to say guilt, even suspicion upon this woman that her, if this was heard, could have been Madeleine? How do you know it's not a friend of the woman's that the partners didn't like? How did you know that it's not a work colleague or something? Or how does anyone know that it was even fucking said?
Could have been an affair.
Could have been anything.
Could have been anything. There is no confidence I have at all that this is in relation to Maddie in any way. And as you say, Joey, there are so many things that this could mean. And also, this could never have even been said.
And can I just quote what the reporter says here? A piece of the puzzle against the female suspect. What piece and what fucking puzzle are we playing here? Roll the next clip.
I spoke to her by phone and she told me some very interesting things. She said she knew nothing about a car accident or any theory of a hit and run that killed Madeleine. She said that at the time Madeleine was discovered missing, she was actually working in a restaurant. She said that she got home around 10:30 and her English boyfriend was already back at their apartment. He, she said, was actually a chef at the McCanns holiday complex, and in fact he'd been serving the family and their friends dinner over the preceding night. Then she said, "Do you think I ran her over? I didn't even have a car at that time." And it wasn't long after that that she got increasingly angry at my questions and eventually she put down the phone.
Right, so there's quite a few bits to unpack here, so let me start. And I'm going to spin this one to you, Josh, right? The guy investigating this matter, in my opinion, is doing what I would call a bit of a hit piece, really. This is what I would brand it as, yeah? That's just my opinion. Now, the good thing for himself is that he has been given key information here, hasn't he? He's been given 2 key bits of information that if he wanted to, he could 100% disprove, couldn't he? She's told him that she was at work, which would be able to be disproven. And she's also told him that she didn't have a car, which would be able to be disproven. Now, is this lazy journalist, lazy investigation into it? Or do you suspect that maybe there's a possibility that he tried to disprove it and wasn't able to?
This is the thing. Like when you've got a job, you've got payment slips, you've got a record of where you've been, and also when you've got a car, you've got the registration information, you've got all of these things. So if she's denying this or she's saying she was at work, there's clearly an alibi that can be gauged or a proof that she doesn't have a car. It's simple, and I do think that he has omitted those pieces of information intentionally because it makes the story sound more interesting. And that's unfortunately, that is the whole element of this clip, really, isn't it?
Just our opinion, but yes, in my opinion, yes, it is. Because ultimately, if he was able to disprove this, if he was able to speak to someone who said, hold on, she did have a car, I've got proof of her having a car, or she wasn't at work in those hours, he would have used it. Because so far, there's absolutely nothing that is suggesting this is true, and there's nothing that's not making this fella look like an absolute prat, in my opinion. So if he was able to use any of this and disprove this, this would have been his main selling point. Don't be fooled. He would have looked into this and he would have clearly seen that this woman, if she even exists, would have had an alibi. And that's why he's not able to disprove this.
But what about the fact, mate, that her boyfriend, he said it in the report, was actually a chef at the Ocean Club? That is a very relevant piece of information. And obviously he's got a connection to the case.
Definitely. Anyone that came into contact with Madeleine, anyone that worked at the Ocean Club around that time, and most significantly, because of a detail I'm about to tell you, was questioned, potentially had apartments searched, was definitely part of the police investigation. Now, why do I say most significantly around the fact that he worked at the tapas bar? First thing here is, if he's a chef, I've been to a lot of restaurants, so have you. Most of the time, the chef doesn't bring out your food, does he? He
doesn't. I would say it's very rare to do it. Definitely not front of house.
Very rare, yeah. Rare. So
quite busy, the chefs.
Quite busy, yeah. So a bit weird that he served them, but he's also a chef there. But regarding the fact that his apartment was apparently searched, obviously, one of the key details that has been proven in the case is that there was a note left in the reservations book, right? The reservations book would have, I assume, been at the sort of front desk where you wait to go into the tapas bar, and there was a note left that they needed the specific table because they were leaving their children in the apartment and they wanted to be able to view the apartment from their table. Actually, quite ironic, Josh, because multiple YouTubers and anyone really,
people that have been to the scene.
Well, no, let's go by Sky News' narrative. Conspiracy theorists, multiple online sleuths and conspiracy theorists have actually been to the scene and seen that it wasn't visible. The building was visible. The building itself of apartment 5A was visible from the table they were sat at. The entries and exits were not visible. However, if the police went and searched the apartment of this man, then that probably would have been because he was one of, I would say, maybe anywhere between 10 to 20 staff members that were working at the tapas restaurant that night. That's at a stretch, by the way. It could be way less. But 10 to 20 staff members, they probably would have all had their apartment searched. They probably would have all been brought in for questioning and stuff like that, due to the note that we know has been proven that was written on the reservations book.
Yep, that makes sense completely.
Police actually searched her apartment. They even emptied my freezer. I got really angry. I said to the policeman, "You think I've cut her up into little pieces?"
And the woman saying, "What do you think I did? Cut her up." What did you think of that?
Well, first of all, we don't know for sure that she even said that.
We don't know for sure. We don't know for sure she even exists.
Yeah, we don't. She's not named, so we don't know if she is actually a real person. She could be an imaginary friend for all I know. But yeah, like when someone's going through your freezer, I feel like that's something that you might do. Like they're pulling out trays of ice, pulling out some frozen peas.
Someone comes round my house and starts pulling fucking frozen garlic bread out of my freezer. I'm probably likely to say, what do you think I've done? Fucking took this kid and cut her up and put her in there. Yeah. I'd lose my temper. Yeah. And you know when normally you lose your temper, mate? When you're fucking innocent of something and some cunts come round your house and it's trying to pull stuff out of your freezer. It makes no sense.
We also just don't even know if this happens as well. It's just a weird thing to even bring up.
And just to cap this off and to go back to the fact that the woman stated she didn't even have a car at the time, right? This isn't the Jack the fucking Ripper case. This happened in 2007. If this investigator was able to prove otherwise, he would. It would be the selling point to this piece. Yet he's not able to do that. In my opinion, he's looked into it. He's realised it's legit, that she didn't have a car, and that's why he's moving swiftly on.
So now we've seen all of these clips, it really does make you wonder why Sky News would fund, discuss, and actually run this case to national television, to all of their social media platforms, to YouTube. And it really makes you think, why are they trying to concoct this narrative? Why are they trying to make up a new suspect? Why are they trying to bring out a new angle to this story when we all know that there are limited angles? We know, because we've covered it in an episode, there are several suspects. There are about 8+ suspects that we went through in our videos of potential people that could have done this. We went through them one by one, ruled some of them out, left some of them that in there, being that we weren't sure about them. But this, to me, does feel like they're grasping at so many straws. I just can't get my head around why they've even done it.
Well, I could give you one reason why they've done it.
Go on.
Because the content obviously must be delivering them big numbers. I mean, they got nearly 9 million subscribers. Sky News.
This is a big story as well. We're talking about one of the biggest disappearance cases of modern times.
And there you go. And the content delivers them massive numbers. Obviously, I believe what helps the algorithm for your interaction and for your numbers and whatnot is having the comment section open. They have conveniently disabled the comments on all of these videos. But there's 3 specific videos within the last week at the time of recording that Sky News have actually dropped on this new female suspect. Combined, do you know what the number is for those 3 videos in the total view count at the time of recording?
Can I guess? It must be over 1 million, surely.
Combined?
Yeah.
All 3 videos, they have got 54,000 views at the time of recording combined on those videos. That's 10,000 less than our full-length episode that we did on Christian Brueckner. That's 74,000 less when we initially covered the case, where obviously we suggested the theory of the parents and discussed the parents, something that Sky News are not willing to do, by the way. Unlike Sky News, we don't have a reach of nearly 9 million subscribers and TV channels available to air, do we?
No, we don't. We don't have anything like that. So it is a bit weird, mate. Maybe we are just conspiracy theorists, and maybe we're just sort of exacerbating the story. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're the ones that are not telling the truth.
Yeah, maybe that's why our one's got so many views, but Sky News aren't putting them in. The only other thing I'd say as well is, I'm just trying to, off the top of... No, we've never disabled any comments on any of our videos, have we?
And all of the comments are incredibly positive and say that we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, weird. Online sleuths, remember. This is just coming from a couple of online sleuths here.
Yeah. So what is clear is that Joey and I are going to rule this story out, and we're not going to discuss this suspect anymore. In fact, there was a reason why we didn't even mention the suspect in our previous videos, because quite frankly, there's no evidence for it. And you know what we always try and do? We're trying to tell you the truth based on evidence that we physically have. So why don't we go back to another one of the suspects that this could have been? Potentially the man that has just been released from prison, Christian Brueckner. Now, he is out on tag. People have seen him out and about. And what you would expect for a man of his notoriety, bearing in mind we all know his full name, we know everything about him, we know the way he looks, we know everything about this geezer, so much so that we've actually seen pictures of him pretty much in the nudes. Like, we've seen everything, right, of Christian Brueckner. You would expect him to be keeping a low profile. He's not doing that. I've heard he's been out partying, seen pictures that he's been enjoying himself.
Eating McDonald's.
going out for a nice meal.
It's clear,
Nothing wrong with that,
clear
mate.
evidence of guilt, mate.
There's no
if you eat McDonald's, you're guilty.
So why don't we go through the evidence that was actually against him?
Yeah, I will. I'll go through that. I'll just rephrase that for you because we all remember the initial report from German authorities, the concrete evidence. Now, listen, if this is concrete, right? never fucking employ anyone that calls this concrete to build your house or do anything like that, because this is the evidence against him. The first of which is that Christian Brueckner is reported to have worked at the Ocean Beach Club. Did you know this?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was reported to have worked there. He lived in the area, so it would make sense if he worked there.
Yeah. What work did he do there? Do you know?
I've heard this. I mean, to be honest with you, mate, it's not true, is it?
Well, I've heard
he didn't actually work there.
I've heard that he was a handyman there.
No.
And I've also heard that he was a waiter there.
There's a lot of evidence of that, isn't there?
There's so
You've
much
got the
evidence.
pay slips, actually.
Yeah, there's so much evidence of that. There's not one single shred of evidence that Christian Brueckner ever worked there.
Not again.
However, times might have been different. Could it have gone under the radar? Could a second-hand party have employed him to do some DIY work? No, in my opinion.
Does that mean that he kidnapped Maddie as well, that he worked there?
I mean, they're all guilty then,
That's the
aren't they?
concrete. If that's concrete evidence, Jerry, we've got a problem. I love that you've led with that.
But also, there was also reports that not only did he work there, which we've just disproven that he didn't, there was also reports that he burgled properties on the Ocean Beach Club or inside the Ocean Beach Club.
I've looked through the police records.
Yeah. How many? So just quickly, how many burglaries then in the police records did he either attempt or successfully carry out on the Ocean Beach Club?
In this area?
No, on the Ocean Beach Club.
Zero.
None.
Zero.
None.
Zero.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe he did some and they weren't reported.
Maybe, but the police probably would have said something.
Yeah.
Police probably would have investigated it if they knew that there was a known burglar in the area.
So can we just for the record, can we just rule that out as not being concrete?
That's also very much not concrete.
That moves us on to the probably most credible bit of evidence, doesn't it? And that is the phone ping. Can you tell us about the phone ping?
Yep. So basically, they had a look through Christian's phone records, and there was a ping off a cell tower near the Ocean Beach Club. Now, we discussed this in our last time we did the episode, and this was basically within a kilometre square of the Ocean Beach Club.
Disputed, by the way.
Disputed, for sure.
Disputed that it was in a kilometre square.
And also, by the way, he lived very close to the Ocean Beach Club. So even if there was a ping, kind of makes sense he was in the area. He lived there.
Yeah, kind of makes sense it was in the area. The exact time of the ping, do you know what that was?
Tell me.
It was 7:32 p.m. That is an hour and a half before Jerry McCann lays eyes on Madeleine in his account of events. An hour and a half. Let's say, for example, Christian Brueckner lived in the area. It doesn't rule out, just because it was an hour and a half before, that the phone pinged there and he took a call there. It doesn't rule out that he stayed in the area. But in an hour and a half, you could also get, 60 miles away? If you were in a car and you were taking a call and your phone pinged at that time?
He had two cars, a van and a jack, so he could have easily got away in that time, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, not concrete. Not concrete, circumstantial, in my opinion. Now, here's another thing that again, I understand.
This was weird.
This one is weird. And this is probably the one for me that still doesn't come anywhere near concrete. But
it looks the dodgiest.
The most relevant bit of circumstantial evidence is the changing of the car registration. So
basically he had, as I just mentioned, the Jaguar, and the day after, was it the day after the disappearance?
Day after
the disappearance, the registration was given to someone else. So effectively he sold the car to another person, another party, and he got rid of the car quite quickly.
Now, Christian Brueckner is a career criminal, isn't he?
Yes.
He's a career criminal.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, if we are calling it a crime, that's the only crime that happened in Praia da Luz that night, was it?
No, I think there are a lot of crimes in that area.
There could have been only one crime that happened in Praia da Luz that night.
Why so?
It suits the narrative, doesn't it?
It's always about the narrative.
Do you get where I'm going with this, mate?
No, go on, tell me.
I think it's suspicious, by the way. And look, I want to like lay my cards on the table here. Christian Brueckner is a piece of shit, a filthy piece of shit that should never be freed from jail. No nonce can ever be reformed, in my opinion. They can never be changed. It's biological. It's in their DNA. They like children, right? They should be locked up, put down, whatever. In my opinion, I don't think that Christian Brueckner should be released from prison. However, we've got to present you with the facts. Does it look a bit sus that he had registration plates changed the next day? 100% it does. But is it an indication of guilt? No, it's not. He's a career criminal. He could have had those registration plates done because he had burgled a property the night before, which he is accused of doing. He could have had it done for multiple different reasons, just as many reasons as why he could have had it done for being responsible for the disappearance of Madeleine.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about next? Should we talk about the journal that he apparently gave and they were searching and looking after?
Oh, it's an admission of guilt, mate.
Yeah.
It's an admission of guilt.
So what did he write then to admit his own guilt? Apparent guilt.
That he wanted to take something small, was it?
Yes, it was.
He wanted to take something small, basically alluding to kidnapping a child, right? Now, once again, we have already said this man's a nonce, okay? So, if you're a heterosexual male, and by the way, I'm not trying to get in the mind of a nonce, but if you're a heterosexual male and you keep a journal and you write, sexually explicit content in there, then you're probably going to write something that is in line with your desires. Now, we know that this man is a nonce, so that would be in line with his desires. What we don't know, by the way, is whether this is the timings of when this was written in this journal. Whether it was wrote before, during, after, years before, years after. We don't know any of that. We've got no context to any of that, have we?
And also, what I think we do have to say here is the fact that he was a nonce is a key part of why he was such a credible suspect and why the police did take this so seriously and why German prosecutors still feel that this is the guy. In fact, every prosecution that I've seen still thinks that this is the prime suspect. But the context this, beyond just the journal, because quite frankly, the journal is the journal, the context that you told me about, actually, mate, was that there were other people in the area. There were other nonces in the area. Basically, there were, like 100 or hundreds?
Mate, thousands.
Yeah.
What we'll say is not specifically nonces, SOs.
Yes, absolutely SOs.
S offenders.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what that means, right?
Yeah.
S offenders, there were loads in there. By the way, the reason I say S offender is because what was Christian Brueckner in prison for? It wasn't for
nonsing.
A child-related offence, was it?
No,
It was actually for an OAP.
Yeah, it was an elderly woman, and obviously the crime was, SA. It was SA against this woman.
So clearly he's got a thing for vulnerable people, which means that maybe it falls into the category of elderly women, younger children, stuff like that. Again, the guy's a piece of shit. But is he the man that took Madeleine?
And the key thing is, when we're looking for the truth here, because we don't want to belittle the case against Christian B, because also, right, if it comes out that there is evidence against him in the future or he confesses, then that will cast a complete...
He already confessed, mate.
It will open up...
He already confessed.
Wait a second. You're telling me he confessed?
Yeah, back in Germany at a festival, he confessed, didn't he?
What? Two different people, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, he turned round to his friend and said she didn't even scream. By the way, though, the context of that, when he said she didn't even scream, has never, ever come to light that they were having a conversation about Madeleine McCann.
This is the thing, and also this guy, his name was Helga Busching. Do you remember
He's
him?
a credible source, isn't he?
He was in prison with Christian B, wasn't he?
What was he in prison for? Do you know?
I don't actually know what he's in prison for, do you?
I think you lot should do a little bit of research on Helga. Very credible source. Very credible source. Some would allege, not myself obviously, some would allege that this guy's a police informant. Often The reason people become police informants isn't because they want to see good police work done, isn't because they want to see crime solved, is because they want to diminish or eradicate themselves from crimes that they have done. I'm not alleging Helga of this, by the way. I'm just saying, explaining to you why a lot of people become a police informant. And a lot of the time, in cases that we've covered multiple times on the channel, police informants and people that give evidence to the police are very, very unreliable. So I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but I would encourage you to do your research on Helga himself and any other cases that he may or may have not worked for police, and see how credible they were in a court of law.
There was also another prison inmate called Laurentis Codin, which was the second confession or apparent confession of Christian Brueckner. Do you remember what Laurentis said?
I don't. Could you remind me of what he actually said?
Codin actually said something, I think, a lot more tangible and a lot more credible to this case. He actually asked, Brueckner asked him, can sniffer dogs detect children's bones when hidden underground?
Right.
That is a lot more credible than the previous confession that we've just had, or confession.
It's a lot more credible, but it's also not proven that he said that.
Nope. Exactly. There's no way. There's no way.
This man, who did he tell this to?
Police.
Police. He told it to the police. So
Yes.
he never went to the media with this.
No.
So he never stood to benefit off of it.
No.
Okay, fair enough. Then you could say that maybe it's credible. You could also argue maybe it's not. You could also argue that this man's made this up. And once again, I'd reference back to other cases we've covered. Plenty of people have made plenty of stuff up. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt. How many children are there in the world, Josh?
Billions.
Did he mention Madeleine?
He never named.
Did he say he was asking the question because he had done this crime?
No.
Okay, let's say, for example, right? I'll give you one off the top of my head, right? We went shooting the other day in Las Vegas, didn't we?
We did indeed.
We did. I said about one of the guns, I said, they were saying about the force fit. I said, would that be enough to take down an elephant?
Yep.
Didn't I?
Yep.
Do you remember me saying that?
I remember it.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Does that mean that I've shot an elephant?
It's a confession.
It's a confession.
You just confessed it.
I've just confessed to killing an elephant.
And also, that's illegal in a lot of
That's
places.
illegal.
Yeah, you shouldn't be doing it.
Lock me up.
Yeah.
Take me away.
Not
Throw
again.
away the keys.
Not again, Joey. Not again. But what about all of this other evidence? Because I remember in 2014, there was another search of there was one of his properties that was searched. It was this abandoned factory. We saw it. We actually covered this in another video that we did. It's a pretty horrible place, to be fair.
Yep.
There was quite a lot of evidence. There was 391 photos. There were 68 video files of materials that we can't name on this podcast. Very serious stuff. And he was actually sentenced to prison for this. Makes him a pretty good suspect, does it not?
It makes him a pretty good suspect of being a nonce, in my opinion. And actually, your numbers are a little bit wrong there, Josh.
Go on then.
Your numbers are a little bit wrong. 21 different properties and locations have been searched by police that were either linked or involved with Christian Brueckner. From those properties or locations, hard drives, memory sticks, cameras, USB chips, and more are taken. And actually, thousands of different pieces of material, whether that be images, whether that be videos, whether that be search histories, whether it be whatever, thousands have been analysed and been scrutinised. Nothing of Madeleine.
Yep.
Nothing of Madeleine.
I was coming on to that, Joey. If you were going to let me finish, no, I'm joking.
Sorry.
Basically by 2020, because that happened in 2014. 2020, everything else comes out as well, and it's 8,000 total images and videos and searches, as you say. And this is the thing, right? We've covered a lot of these cases, and the one thing that these sick bastards can't stop to do is document some form of evidence around this. Like, we've seen people search names, we've seen people look into the case, we've seen people, and often this is what killers do. They will fetishize the case, won't they? They'll become obsessed with it, but also they'll document the crimes, right? And throughout all of this thorough searching, and bear in mind, this guy is a very serious suspect of a very high profile case, and you've known and we've said how much money is involved in this case. If there was some evidence, any evidence at all, they would jump on it.
They'd find it.
They'd find it.
They'd find it. And clearly...
And have they?
So far, they haven't found anything, which I suppose means that in the whole entire history of the Madeleine McCann case, there's never been anything more than circumstantial evidence against anyone. Has there?
There might be some circumstantial evidence on 2 people in particular. But we've talked about them before.
I mean, listen, the German prosecutor has described everything that we've read out to you. Unless there's evidence being withheld from us right now,
Which could be possible.
yeah,
It could be.
it couldn't really, because he'd be in prison.
Yes, they would have actually held it on him.
He'd be
Yeah.
in prison.
Fair
See,
enough.
you say, oh, it could be possible. It couldn't. If they checked a hard drive, if there was a picture of Madeleine
Yeah.
on his hard drive or something like that, or a video of Madeleine.
We're talking about
anything-
concrete evidence again to clarify the words. There has to be something there.
His words, not ours. His words, not ours. Concrete evidence. So, if you base all of that hypothetical / circumstantial evidence on the fact that this man is the prime suspect, then maybe you might see concrete evidence as cadaver dogs, as DNA of blood, as the fact that actually there weren't any sightings of Madeleine apart from the accounts of the parents that I suppose we just have to believe, don't we?
Well, do you want to get into some evidence then that we actually have that might be more tangible and more credible than the evidence that we've just discussed?
No, because I wouldn't want to upset anyone. I wouldn't want to go against any sort of media narrative. So we should probably leave it there, really. Shouldn't
Fair
we?
enough.
Just
It's been a great episode.
online
Thanks so much
sleuths.
for watching.
Leave it there. Fuck that. Hit me with the evidence.
Right, so obviously now we've got to talk about the evidence against Kate and Jerry McCann. Again, what I will say before we even discuss this, Joey, is this is all alleged evidence. They have been removed as suspects by the Portuguese police.
Prematurely, in my opinion.
Yeah, they've been removed as suspects by the German police, and they are no longer considered prime suspects. In fact, so much so, mate.
Sorry, they haven't been removed as suspects by the German police.
Oh,
Yeah.
are you going to correct me here?
They weren't suspects.
They were never actually formally charged as suspects by the German police.
Because once the German police got involved,
It
they
was
never charged them as suspects. They were never charged as suspects. By the way, also Operation U-Tree that look for Madeleine look for her under the premise of
An abduction.
An abduction. And that means you work within the rules and the guidelines of an abduction. So while you're doing that, if you discover something that might lay you along a path that suggests that it could have been, let's say, a hit and run, something like that, that won't be looked into. And that's why U-Tree haven't looked into this unnamed German woman.
Yep.
Because U-Tree are looking under an abduction.
Rather than a potential hit and run case. Yeah, totally. So look, let me break down the evidence now. Let's talk very quickly about the dogs. The dogs go into the apartment. They are cadaver and blood dogs. The clear thing to say is there's no evidence of any prior incidents of a death or any significant amount of bleeding that was in that apartment. That's been refuted by the resort staff and also by a check of police records as well. So say that going in now. There was indications by those 2 dogs that there were cadaver evidence behind the sofa in the living room, as well as the corner of the couple's bedroom near the wardrobe. There was also the dog Eddie, who's looking after and trying to find the cadavers, evidence that Cuddle Cat had potentially been exposed to this potential cadaver. There was also an indication next to a box of clothes that belonged to Kate McCann. And it wasn't just that. The dog also indicated for the Renault Scenic vehicle that the couple only rented how long after the case? Do you know this? Do you know how many days?
I think it was it 14 days?
25 days.
Fuck it.
25 days after it, Eddie, this dog who, again, I'm a big fan of these cadaver dogs and the blood dogs. They do amazing work and they're very rarely wrong because they're
probably dead now, them
infallible.
dogs, aren't they?
Let's not even think about that because they were good dogs.
They were good lads.
Eddie alerted at the driver's door. Keela was the name of the other dog. She was the blood dog that indicated that it might have been blood in the boot of the car and also on the ignition key.
Yeah, but how do we know that Eddie, the dog, wasn't a conspiracy theorist?
Eddie has got the reputation of being a bit of a conspiracy theorist.
Really?
I don't really think his evidence is fair to
Yeah.
do. He walked
on a tinfoil lead, apparently.
Tinfoil lead, tinfoil hat, tinfoil collar.
Yeah.
He was kitted up with the tinfoil, to be fair. But, as you say, mate, dogs can be fallible potentially. Like, they're not experts, they're not scientists, they don't wear lab coats. So maybe when they sent the DNA evidence back, that they would just say that it's inconclusive and the dogs are incorrect.
Can I ask you something, right? If I tell you a lie and you prove it to be a lie, right?
Yep.
Does it mean that you'll fall out with me?
No.
No, doesn't.
No.
Does it? Does it mean that you will question anything maybe slightly far-fetched I tell you in the future?
I think potentially, yeah. It would make me think twice.
Yeah.
How about that?
And it would probably make you believe that I'm not a very reputable source.
I think so. And maybe that's where we start getting into the accounts of the evening.
According to the parents, according to Jerry, I should say, what they did was no different from dining in your garden on a summer's night while your children are asleep inside your house.
Yeah.
Let me give you a few little differences. These guys were well-paid doctors, right?
Yep.
Good property, lived in nice house.
There wasn't any babysitting service at the resort, mate. So I don't know what you're talking about.
No, there wasn't. There was
no creche.
There was no night creche.
No.
No.
And they didn't need to save any money.
Where were the Tapa 7? Because obviously there were other children. Where were they at the time?
They were obviously in the creche.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's awkward. So would you say that unless you live in a fucking mansion, it is quite different from dining out in your garden while your kids are asleep?
It's not a standard semi-detached house.
It's not, is it? Now, another thing. I have got, as I say, a daughter the age of Madeleine, and I've got a newborn, right?
Yes.
My newborn is a lot newer than the twins.
Can we just say congratulations to Jerry on his newborn?
Thank you.
What a moment that is. These guys don't know about this yet. We've got to say congratulations.
Thank you. That's why I'm so tired all the time.
Yeah.
Tired of these lot shit. No. Right. So what I'm saying is this, right? I've got, and this is just my parenting. This is just my parenting. Doesn't mean everyone needs to be the same, but I've got a daughter that is more or less the same age as Madeleine when she went missing. I've also got a newborn. Yeah, my newborn's younger than the twins were, the McCann twins. But at the same time, I understand, right, that they're kids, they're infants and a toddler, and sometimes you don't have to have ill intention for something bad to happen, right? So the whole thing of it's no different to dining out in your garden. I wouldn't dine out in my fucking garden. I wouldn't leave I wouldn't leave Nyla in the room on her own with my baby for more than 10 seconds. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't personally do that. I'm 31 years old. These lot are older than me. They're medical professionals. They should know better. You're guilty of neglect straight away, and all of a sudden, the second you came out with that made you a suspect in my eyes.
And it wasn't just that either. The accounts they gave and spoke to the police, riddled with inconsistencies, riddled with changes, and so much so that the group of the Tapa 7 actually met and discussed a potential timeline and actually tried to hash it out, tried to remember what their storyline was. And then from that point on, their storylines all lined up. Their storylines all then
To be fair, I don't remember fuck all after 9 or so bottles of wine.
That's the thing. Let's not talk about the wine drinkage here. Yeah. And also, Jerry also gave statements to the police, and he said that the 9:05 check that he gave, he said that he originally went in via the locked front door, but then later said that he changed his mind and actually went to the rear doors. Yeah. So again, there's what I'm trying to say is there's inconsistencies in the statement.
Easy mistake to make.
Truthful people don't often get their stories incorrect and mixed up, do they? Because they know what they did.
So I think at this point, I kind of want to wrap things up here. Is that fair to say?
That's such a shame, Jay, because I've got like 3 more pages of evidence.
Let's go.
No, do you actually want to go for it now?
I'm happy to nail the evidence.
There's a lot more other stuff, and we've obviously talked about this in some of our other episodes, but the crime scene, let's just quickly say that. The bedroom window, the only fingerprints that were found inside of the bedroom window was a palm print of Kate Healy, one of the Tapa 7, orientated in a way in which she was opening the window and not closing it. And there was no evidence of anyone forcibly entering any of the windows, the shutters, or anything like that. Bear in mind, Joey, we're talking about an abduction theory. That's the only thing that Operation Grange are looking at. abductions. So you've got to have an abduction theory. You've got to have evidence of an abduction.
It was also the Jane Tanner sighting. Obviously,
Yep.
Jane Tanner, you've said before that the Tapper 7 obviously tried to get a timeline. It's not an indication of guilt. That's maybe them not trying to help and trying to be productive and try and assemble exactly what had happened. Other conversations could have been had there. I'm just alluding to that. That doesn't mean that they were. But Jane Tanner, she saw what she believed someone carrying a child, wasn't able to give a face. When Robert Murat became a suspect, she was able to say she was pretty certain that it was Robert Murat in that situation.
Yeah, and what happened to Robert Murat in the end? I'm sure he was charged and convicted because obviously that's tangible evidence.
No, proven completely innocent.
Proven completely innocent. And not only that, he was subjected to a lot of trauma and pain, completely unfairly. People spray painted his house. And then, Joey won 600 grand in a libel case because he was completely innocent. So
yeah, but remember, he had Ian Huntley vibes.
Yeah, that was bad, to be fair. I mean, you've got a reputation of being a serial killer, then, it makes sense, doesn't it?
No, but just to even air that, he had Ian Huntley
Who
vibes.
even fucking said that he had Ian
I
Huntley
can't
vibes?
remember.
It's a joke.
It probably would have been the Sun.
By the way, right, there was another sighting that we have to say. This is the Martin Smith sighting, who described a man carrying a young girl away at about 10 o'clock, which completely makes sense in terms of the timeline, by the way, just saying. And that person matched the exact description of Jerry McCann. It looks nothing like Christian B. It looks nothing like potential other suspects that we've mentioned either. He said he described it as Jerry McCann's mannerisms and said that it was 60 to 80% sure that Martin Smith saw Jerry McCann carry Maddie away, or a young girl away. There's loads of other evidence that I could discuss. If you want to go and see that, cover and watch some of our other episodes. But what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of evidence and a lot of, I would say, more concrete evidence currently for the McCanns. Now, that doesn't mean that Joey and I are saying that they are the ones that did this. But what we're saying is, if you're talking about a game of evidence and you're trying to paint a picture of what the police are actually looking at, we've unearthed some things that we're unsure of, and therefore we would be pursuing them in terms of the case. Now, what's clear is they're not doing that. What's clear is they're looking for other suspects. And what's clear by the media's reputation, by Sky News, they're not opening up and looking at some of this evidence that we're covering. They're trying to find other suspects so they can pin it on another person and try and conclude this case. I think what everyone wants, police, media, you or I, we want a conclusion to this case. And I find this clip, this story in particular, clasping at straws to try and bring an end to something which they are nowhere near finishing.
Nowhere near. If I had to put a prediction now, Christian Brueckner is never arrested or convicted of the abduction and murder of Madeleine McCann. If I had to give a prediction now, Sky News probably don't do any more reporting on this whole German woman driving a car theory who may or may not have been drunk. And if I had to give a prediction now, the McCanns are never looked into again. Maybe you could tell me in the comment section below why I feel like that. But I do want to make it clear that unless something concrete and what we describe as concrete, DNA, blood, forensics, admission of guilt, unless something concrete now comes out, this will, unfortunately for you guys that have enjoyed these episodes, be the last time we cover this case. Because in my opinion, the evidence is there for you to see, okay? And if you want to look at that evidence, you can look at that evidence. We've done enough so of doing it. We're not accusing anyone of anything. This is all alleged. And obviously, thoughts go to, the people involved in this case. And most significantly, a young girl that is clearly no longer with us. Hopefully, maybe one day we're proven wrong.
Yeah.
But I'd love to know your thoughts. I'd love to, by the way, we read the comments to these videos.
100% we do.
So I would love to have your exact theories on what happened on that night in May 2007 in Praia da Luz. I would love to see your theories in the comment section below. Now, those of you who are watching this on Friday are obviously members, and I want to give you a massive, massive shout out because since the Sky News article dropped, so many of our members have been asking for our thoughts on this once again. We and on it because we've covered the
100%.
case so many times.
We have.
But what do? When the members want something,
we answer the bloody call.
when you want it, you get it, right? And that is what the members wanted. So that is exactly why we have recorded this one today. However, I think that unless there's major developments, it's going to be the last one. By the way, if you do want to become a member, if you're watching this on Sunday and you want to become a member, and you can watch it up to 48 hours before, as well as having exclusive access to our live streams, members only, where we interact with you guys and whatnot, you can do so for, I think, is it $4.99 a month?
$4.99 a month. It's absolutely nothing.
Can't get a coffee for that in London.
No, you absolutely can't. And all of those members will get access to all of that content, but also unique videos just for them. We're actually going to upload one very, very soon, probably this weekend.
Yep, exactly. And you can have your suggestion in the direction of what way this channel goes. So you can't get better than that. And if that's not for you, completely fine. Times are hard for a lot of people, or you just might not fancy it. But what I would love you to do is just click a like on the video, maybe a share, definitely subscribe to the channel. We will see you all in the next one.